Now what's going on? Oh, here we go.
Okay, now I think you need to go to Zoom. You're live.
I'm live. Am I live with everyone? Okay, welcome everyone. I'm sorry I'm a little late. I'm just trying to figure out the tech here and we're a little behind. So my apologies. I'm going to be bringing on my good friend and longtime advisor, Shoshana. And Tim, I've got my teammate, Tim. How do I invite her onto this call? Or I guess I just put the link here in the comment box, right?
Yep, and you can send to her.
There's a link in the comment box, everyone, that you can come in on. And I've posted it. And Shoshana, you can come on there as well. And let's see, Tim, there we go. Oh, fantastic. Okay, I figured it out. Everyone, welcome. This is my really good friend, spiritual sister, wonderful advisor for at least 3-4 years now. And Shoshana is a deeply connected, intuitive, psychic. Beyond all those things, she's a master she's a master at tapping in to the higher dimensions and to the subtle dimensions of reality. And for me, as a business leader, advisor, guide, mentor, I get profound insight and exact, direct, intuitive reads on things that I'm feeling into. It helps me really fill out my consciousness to make better decisions. I don't rely upon people who have gifts of seeing to make my decisions. I rely upon them. I call upon them to infuse my own wisdom bank. And that's what I'm going to ask you today. And so welcome, and so great to have you, Shoshana. All my love and gratitude for being here.
I thank you. During our conversation this morning, when you invited me, I got really excited for, just maybe providing guidance or insight for people about not the immediate what's happening with them, but maybe the larger context of where they can take the current circumstances and use them for the expansion of who they are. So thank you for having me. Larger context of where they can take the current circumstances and use them for the expansion of who they are. So thank you for having me. Larger context of where they can circumstances and use them for the expansion of who they are. So thank you for having me. Larger context of where they can.
You're most welcome. So I'd like to just dive in, and I've put a Zoom link here for people to be on Zoom as well. If you're going to be on Zoom, please mute yourself until you're ready to speak, or else we'll have an echo effect, okay? And please excuse me, it's my first time doing this, so if I fumble around, I will learn as I get better. But what I wanted to ask of you, Shoshana, is, we have much going on with this COVID crisis on the planet. And we were talking just earlier today about what are you feeling and seeing that's happening on a macro level, and especially if you'd be kind to tune into those who are in this warrior sage circle. I would be very happy to. Okay.
Well, as always, anytime I am tapping in, I first like to just acknowledge not only the human beings that have gathered, but also all the beings in light and our guides that join us. So I just say a thank you to all of our guides and teachers who are with us in this conversation. We appreciate their presence. As I've been working with clients for the last 3 weeks, and even in my own spiritual practice of meditating and listening in for myself and my own family, what I have been present to energetically is consciousness wants to expand, like our awareness wants to expand. And I don't think the coronavirus happened. I don't think it was either engineered via the cosmos or otherwise to have us expand our consciousness, but it is yet another opportunity that humankind has to step into what is possible for us as human beings, like the best versions of ourselves, whatever that means.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And in terms of, there seems to be, and I'm feeling a great wave of consciousness, if you will, an opportunity for a quickening of our consciousness, an expansion. We all know this in our core and being. What are ways that we can utilize this time here to expand and grow our consciousness?
I think all of the attention that we have spent, I like what you started you opened the conversation with. I'm not looking for other people to give me answers, but I'm using support to trust the answers that are within more. And to me, what we can do right now as a human being evolutionary step, right? And who we are as beings on the planet is to take the time to open up to and listen to inner guidance. I just think it's so typical, especially of this time and age we live in, where we're so focused outwardly. We're entertained 24/7, we're informed 24/7, we're engaged with other people, we're connected or tuned into technology 24/7. I just think that this is like a pause moment for a lot of people, even people who are on the front lines. And, because I know that there's warrior sages that are, in the medical field, because I know some of them, that they're on the front lines of helping people. But even inside of that, this is like a pause moment. Life is not normal like it normally is. Like right now is different. And so there's this opportunity to really go inward and listen. And it takes something, because the noise that's outside of us seems louder right now, because everybody collectively is paused. So everybody is tuning out more. They're plugging into technology more. They're engaging more, like that.
Thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
want to encourage, if anyone has any questions of Shoshana, to kindly put it in the chat box, and you can ask specific direct questions about yourself, about your circumstance in this reality that we have right now. And we'll be, as I see any of those, I will bring them up with Shoshana, okay?
And thank you for
So-
those that are commenting on the live on Facebook. I see you, Deidre. I see you, Jessica. I see you, Max. Thank you, you guys. You can put your questions there too if you want.
Yeah, fantastic. Fantastic. So there's I want to bring up a few people have been, bringing up this whole, this is what's going on. These forces are doing us to us. These billionaires are manipulating us this way, trying to get no money, no cash, trying to inject us with it. There's all these different types of energies. How do we, first of all, what's your sense of how to approach this from a meta disposition? How can we approach these forms of beliefs and ideas in other ways? Like what's the highest way that we can approach these things?
Oh, such a good question. I think that, and it is part of our conversation this morning, but I think all of us as human beings don't like to see other people suffer. Like to know that other people are suffering, whether they're suffering from a lack of resources for healthcare, or they're lonely, or whatever that is, right? So the heart of us doesn't like to see people suffer. It's just who we are as human beings. I don't think any human being likes to see another suffer. And so when you feel triggered, or when you feel angry, or when you can't seem to find that inner, I don't know what we want to call it, like that place inside of you that can be, to have a sense of that all is right, and that you'll be guided for being in the right place at the right time to do the greatest good that you can do. When you can't seem to find yourself there, it just means that you got plugged into that sense of injustice, that you're sad because you feel, and this goes for me too. So I'm not saying this even inside of being an intuitive and an advisor. I say this as a human being who's a channel for the higher realm. So I get it. Like I've felt super sad about what's happening in the world right now and just seeing people suffering. So, but when you see people suffering the way that they are, and you notice you're angry, the place to find is to recognize what's really there is the desire you have to soothe other people, to help other people's suffering, and to find a way to make meaning. And I just speaking from lots of clients, talking to lots of clients, as I'm sure it's been the same for you, that you want to avoid the meaning that sucks the goodness out of life. Because when the goodness gets sucked out of life, you get, I think, thrown onto the path of life doesn't mean anything. I'm totally out of control. I have no say. People are out to get me. Like, it starts to turn into that kind of energy. And when you go down that road, you will literally find the evidence for that you're looking for, just the same way as you'd find the evidence for the goodness. So to me, the bigger overall picture you were asking about is seeing suffering on this level where everybody's on pause and it's so in our face, then we're all being called to being the greater version of ourselves to help in suffering, whatever that is, whether it's, those family members that you never check in with, make sure they're okay. If you're a baker and you have neighbors, bake them bread and bring it to them and leave it on their doorstep. If you have a few extra dollars, then buy masks and send them to people on the front lines. Thank people. It's like whatever that greater good for you is, do that.
Thank you. Thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much. We were chatting about that in the midst of uncertainty, in the midst of not knowing really what's going on in the higher dimensions. Welcome everyone coming on. We'd love to see you here. And we're going to open it up so you can ask your questions after this. But in the midst of all the uncertainty, there's naturally a part of our consciousness that wants to create meaning, as you shared, create a narrative out of this, rather than be in the unknown where there's a lot of instability in being and consciousness. Our stability desiring mechanisms within ourselves will latch on to thought forms, ideas, ideologies, which keep us feeling safety, groundedness, even if it's crazy ideas, even if it seems way out there, or there's so much info, right? Our consciousness will build together a construction of ideologies, things that solidify our root desire for stability based on our traumas, based on what we need for security. And so the strange thing is that much of what we think might be happening could be happening to fill in the voids within our own essence.
Yeah. I 100% resonate with that.
And okay, so let's bring on, we have Deidre.
We also have, I see a question too on the Facebook Live from a few different people.
Okay, let's pick one of those up and take one that
I love this one, and I'm going to say your name wrong. Maybe it's Raji Kabli. I love your question.
Yes.
She's asking for the star seeds and light workers that have incarnated at this time. Hello, light worker, fellow light workers. What advice do you have for us to open up even more to guidance or understanding from their star family? So my recommendation is the practices that you have for recognizing your being from others' beings. Practice those practices more. And specifically what I mean is, as a light worker, we are intentionally porous, meaning we can feel into all the realms, right? We are very tapped into this three-dimensional world, physicality, but we're also tapped into all dimensions. And in all dimensions, there is an intense energy right now, just like Sachin said, which is that we're all struggling for meaning about what does this mean? And we're all trying to look for, who's causing this and what's really happening and what does it mean about me? So rather than getting swept up in that, what I really recommend for light workers at this time is be diligent in your practices for managing what is my energy, what feels good to me, how do I ground myself in universal truth, and then return or release energy that is others, that is definitely not mine and does not serve my highest good. One of the easiest practices I know that I teach all light workers is return to sender with consciousness. So if you notice physical sensations in your body, thoughts in your head or emotions that they just don't actually feel great, before you do processes to work them out, because could be related to traumas. Before you do that, just ask your body and your being the question: does this right now in this moment, this thought of fear, is that fear entirely mine? Is this anger I'm feeling, is it entirely mine? Is the feeling of out of controlness that I'm experiencing, the intensity of it, is all of that mine? And then whatever part of it isn't yours, trust your body and being, this light workerness, to release what isn't yours and just say, return to sender with consciousness. Or you could say, go back to the earth to be recycled, whatever resonates with you. But that is the thing that I recommend for light workers incarnated right now. Manage your energy diligently.
Manage your energy diligently. You heard it. Bam. Let's bring on people who've joined us on the Zoom. Deidre, you came on first, so if you could unmute and get your video on, and if you have a direct question or share of Shoshana, we'd love to invite you on.
Hello, good to see you guys. I wanted to ask the question of, like, totally unfiltered. I know you guys are in a space of teaching and guiding right now, which is beautiful, but from a place of authentic, unfiltered conversation, what do you really feel like is happening here on a soul level as well as of a collective and then beyond?
Meaning, like, what's happening because COVID is here?
Well, I'm just talking about the big shift that's about to happen in the world right now. So we could say it's COVID, we could say it's something else. What are your thoughts on what's really happening?
Okay, good. I love your question. I just want to say that first, authentically. I love that question. So I think that being a human being, that whole thing about being, that we are one with everything, but also our skin bags are separate, is a hard duality that each of us have to resolve for ourselves. And we all resolve it in a way that resonates with us. So some people resolve it by, they steer towards religiosity, and that works really great for them. And in religion, they find a sense of why we feel separate, yet also together. So to me, part of the human consciousness right now that we've been seeing, and I'm in the US, and so I've been seeing it so much in the US, all over, but really especially politically in the US, is this division that's so intense right now. I think consciousness wants us to come together, not in sameness, not in homogeny, because that's not actually, we are all unique expressions of the divine, but there has to be a way that honors the uniqueness, but also the sameness. And I think that's actually I think that's the shift you're talking about, Deidre. To me, that's the shift that we're stepping into, is that how to resolve these two halves of experience, human experience. I think it is the core issue, really. So that's my answer. That's a great question, by the way.
Thank you.
So I feel we're at a time of great initiatory fire, where this is a moment that if we face, we can utilize this as a great time of global initiatory fire. From a meta disposition, from a cosmic domain, as Shoshana and I were jamming, we're all eternal beings, I feel and I experience as. And so life and death, what we arise as in this form, what we fall away in whatever form, from a cosmic level, that's what I'm experiencing, that as a whole, we're going through initiatory fire on purpose. Whatever combination of forces, from conscious and awakened and beautiful and divine and benevolent, combined with nefarious, diabolical, self-serving, egoic, there's all of it is here. All of it is within us. All of it is everywhere. All of it is exaggerated right now, magnified. We're seeing love and blooming and consciousness and positivity, and we're seeing grabbing, greed, people trying to make wheeling and dealing rather than just serving people. There's all of it going on physical, subtle, and meta domains of existence. Now, for me, the choice is this, right? There's an ancient teaching in Zen. There's a samurai who really is yearning for the truth of life and death, heaven and earth. And he meets this really profound Zen master. And he's been searching for the Zen master for months. People have said he's got the highest knowledge. He finally comes across this Zen master. And the Zen master looks at him and goes, "You're a fool. You're an idiot. Stop bothering me." Well, this is not how you speak to samurais. They're very direct. The samurai gets pissed off. He pulls out, and the samurai was saying, he came to him and asked, "Where is the gates of heaven and hell? I want to know the truth of heaven and hell. Where's the gates?" And so the Zen master kept taunting him with every single way he could push a button. Finally, the samurai had enough, because they're very noble. They don't deal with any of that bullshit. Pulls out a sword, is about to go down on the Zen master. Zen master goes, "There's the gates of hell right now. You're at the precipice of it." Now, samurais are simple. They go, "Holy shit." Puts away his sword, and the Zen master goes, "Now we're in the gates of heaven."
Mm.
This time here, we get to enter the gates of heaven, or we enter the gates of hell. And it's not based on, how can I say, it's not based on what people are doing outside. It's based on the solidity, the groundedness, the congruence of our heart response, not our animal response. So I believe we also have a very opportune moment now to start feeling our heart domain, start feeling our soul domain. And what does that want to express? What heaven does it want to enter? And what hell does it want to close its door on? So that's my feel right now. And how that initiatory fire is occurring is unique for each individual. And so it's not just global, it's very individual. And so that's my sense of having to face this. Where is those gates of hell and heaven? And will you take the walk that is choosing depth and expansion, or contraction and fight?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there, Shoshana, maybe you can see if there's any other questions that are there in our...
This is good. Hold on one second. Let me just get all the comments up. All right. I'm just looking for all the comments. Give me 1 second here. We have so many people commenting. So just thank you to everybody who's on the live and is sharing comments. It's awesome. Let's see.
If anyone has a question, you can also put it in the comment box, or you can just join us here on Zoom that I've put in the comment box if you want to come on visually.
Oh, this is good. So I'm just going to read this question by Jenny Heckford. "I'm feeling the call of my soul for my next step in this big pause, but feel lost as to what it is. Any advice on deepening amid this accelerated time?" The call of our soul is timeless, but we're human. And so we really, this pause we're feeling has time feel more real, I think, than it normally does. Like, I don't operate in time very often. Usually I just don't operate in time well. I have lots of structures in life to keep me showing up when I should, just because I so don't operate in time. But right now, time feels so real. So when you're saying you feel this pause, you feel the calling of your soul into what's next, but you feel a little bit lost how to operate in right now in this accelerated time, the thing I would say is, what I love what you were saying, Sachin, which is listen to what your heart says, because in your heart is not the particulars or the details of what the listening to the call of your soul would look like. Like, I'm going to go from being a this to a this, and I'm going to charge this much, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to leave my job and go join the Red Cross. Like, let go of all the particulars and the details. And instead, what I can sense is if you envisioned yourself fully aligned with your soul's calling, what would that feel like? Because the moment that it activates as a feeling, it means you're calling the energy of it in, and then your soul will recognize it when the next step shows up. You'll feel that alignment, that resonance, and you'll go, oh, there it is. That's the next step to take, because I've felt in my being what my soul's calling is, and I know what that vibration or energy would be. So that's the answer I would give to your question, Jenny.
Thank you so much. Who else? Does anyone have a direct query of Shoshana that you'd like to ask? Now, Shoshana, you might have to look through the page yourself, because my access to all that, the comment box is frozen.
Okay, let me just scroll up. Yep, that's awesome. I love the comments. A lot of people are saying they're appreciating our conversation because it's a reminder to connect to not the wrongness, but to connect to the divine insight that there is in how we're being called, whether we're being called like the samurai to pull the sword out, or like the space of quiet and listening, you know, because some of us are poking people like the master was, while some of us are having the sword. Let's see here. What kind of question may you ask? Really, any. If you're feeling stuck, if you're asking about particular energy that's yours, you're like, I'm having a really hard time with my partner in this space, or I don't know what to do about my business. You could ask those kind of questions, or you can really keep it in the bigger meta for more people. Either way.
And in the comment box, we have a link to join in. For those of you who want to ask visually and get even more direct connection, please feel free to join us that way as well. Any other ones you see there that we could serve?
I was looking to see. Well, and just lots of really beautiful comments. I'm present to, there's like a message. So let me just listen to what the message is.
Yes.
Specifically for Warrior Sage, those that are listening. For those who are just jumping on, something we said at the beginning of our conversation is that all of us are being called into our leadership. We're all being called into, whether you want to call it your leadership, your soul's calling, what the version of yourself that is of service to others looks like. And so I'm present to the communication from spirit that at this moment in time, be open and willing to have what the vehicle of your soul's calling or fulfilling your purpose at this current moment, be open that it might look different than how you think. That, you know, for me, for example, I do this for a living, and you could say that this is me fulfilling my soul's purpose, but I've been being called to do other things that are not just this work that I do, that also is fulfilling soul's purpose. I've been sitting on my front porch and playing guitar, and some people listen in the neighborhood because that is like human connection and beauty that people need. And that is also a vehicle for that higher calling to be of service to people. So that would be my question I would pose to you guys, is those listening, what is your soul call? Like, what is right now in this moment, your call from spirit, your call to leadership? What could that look like right now in this current moment, in the current circumstances we're having, not even just what's beyond, but right now? Let's see what people say.
And I believe we also have Jessica who's come on Zoom. So Jessica, if you want to come on visual, and you can go ahead and please share and come off mute and ask Shoshana what's there for you in your heart.
Hi. It's so good to see you guys on here. Thank you so much for having this conversation. I think it's so needed and so beautiful. I want to ask, for those of us who are starting to, or who already do serve and are calling to serve as much as we can at this point. I haven't experienced it myself, but there seems to be a bit of a backlash almost to the communities that are looking to help and help people rise up, and just how to be mindful and gentle with people who are maybe going through the first version of their dark night of the soul, where a lot of us who are in the healing community and the service community have gone through multiples, and sort of know the drill and know how to know that there's light on the other side of it. And so how to help people who are going through the first stages of that.
I would love to hear what my friend has to say actually about this. I have some thoughts, but I want to hear what he has to say first.
Well, as guides, as leaders, we can point towards the light and usher people that way through our disposition. This is our time, our calling to do so. Us light workers, people aligned with spirit, we've been building, we've been developing, we've been building lifetimes for these moments. And so we have already equipped in our soul patterning, in our capacities. The first thing I want to say is see yourself already whole as a healer, as a guide. Don't wait anymore until you can usher people towards greater depth, wisdom, love, consciousness. Let go of any restriction or when I get my ducks lined up, when I've got this lined up. No, the lineup has happened. We are now in the heart of our destiny, and we are in the essence of our walk. This is the time to walk and to usher people into that, whatever that is, but it has a vibration. That's what I have to say. And to do it without pensiveness now. Face any pensiveness, any less than, and set it aside. The world, Gaia, Mother Earth, doesn't want us to play in the realm of our weakness. She wants us to play and sit in the domain of our power gift.
That was beautifully said. The only thing I would add to that is, and it's something I deal with a lot with people, is just check in with permission. Do you know what I mean? Like some people, especially as a healer, Jessica, and a light worker and people in service, you likely notice and can sense when people are on that like teeter-tottery edge of awakening. And we know that we can either hold their hands and help them step over, or they're going to fall on their own. But I just have this, I've just had this sense that, and trust, and that the people who come forward for support that do that without pensiveness, like go direct, go, completely upfront, be fully and completely who you are. But if you notice someone and they haven't come forward for support, just check in with permission. Because I just remember when I was 18 and had my awakening moment, that it was me and a friend that went to the same metaphysical bookstore, and she was not ready and I was, and it blew her off bad. Like she was a little woo-woo crazy for about 4 years after that. And it's just because the person who was directing that wisdom our way, she just wasn't in a place to hear it yet. So just check in with permission and recognize that, that you have so much beautiful work to do with people. I mean, I can just feel it like radiating out of you, and that you'll really, people need what you have. So thank you for what you do on the planet. I appreciate it. I appreciate being part of the network of light workers. And I sadly have to go because I'm teaching a class, but I just so appreciate you, my friend, and appreciate this conversation. And everyone listening who is a light worker, keep shining your light. Keep shining your light. And I left my information in the chat box. So if you need support, light workers, let me know, okay?
Shoshana, thank you so
Bright
much.
blessings. Thank you so much.
People love this and are enjoying this. I'd love to invite you back, okay? And
most definitely. More to be talked about.
Okay.
Bright blessings, everyone.
Thank you. Everyone else still stay on, and we'll take some other shares, questions. Now just know that I don't have access, for whatever reason. My comments page is, how can I say, frozen. So I can't see your questions there. So I can only take them here through the Zoom for now. But we have Yayati that's on. So Jessica, any reflections on what, Shoshana has shared? You can unmute yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, it really was what both of you said was affirmative for me, sort of what I was feeling already. And just noticing, and what I've been noticing for myself is just holding space for people wherever they're at, and just allowing them to be in the shadow and the light, and holding space, and just being in a space of unconditional love and non-judgment, whether they're going through waves of that hysteria of needing to hold on to things, or whether they're moving out of that. We're going through so many waves of grief and fear and anger and frustration. And so I've been working with people every night in a closed group just to do mini meditations, and it's been profound for me to watch just how people are yearning for this, yearning for connection, and then also just how they're rising up slowly but surely in their own way. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. And I'm definitely going to bring Shoshana back. Shoshana is an incredible guide and servant of humanity. What I want to share in this point is, when given the opportunity to lead and serve, we must take the opportunity to lead and serve. If we have a calling within ourselves to lead and serve, however that shows up, it could be small, medium, large. We could have ideas of what that looks like. It's not the power, it's not the size of the miracle. It's that you are offering the miracle of love. Course in Miracles, an ancient or beautiful book on wisdom and consciousness and love, says that there's no order in the size of miracles. All miracles are valid, and the miracle is love. And so how, as a warrior, do we find love? It comes to the act of service, karma yoga. This is a time where karma yoga means God's hands, the divine's hands, Gaia's hands in action. And we now are in the disposition, we are in the initiatory fire to be dropped in, to be the hands of Mother Earth, to be the heart of spirit. Not just me as an I, as a separate self, but myself as a totality of existence, as a conduit of love for you, for my neighbor, as a conduit of love for my society, in resolute, concerted action. This is the point I want to emphasize. So we're going to complete this up, and I'm going to definitely invite Shoshana again, but we have my friend here, Yayati from India. So welcome, Yayati. Any shares or questions you want to express to our whole Warrior Sage community here?
Yes, so I just joined the conversation around 5 minutes back, and I was the one who asked the question around what can be asked. So the question which I had is, and one of the share which I have is, when given the opportunity to lead, we must lead. And that I'm doing. But at the same time, I'm facing the polarity with the immediate ones, with my own family. I'm able to support people who are out there, but when it comes to dealing with family, with the matters of the family, there are lots of challenges and troubles happening. So is that natural? That's one of the questions. And if yes, then how do I deal with it? Because I want to create peace here first.
Like that? Anyone else? I'm sure there's others who are experiencing something like that. I'll tell you what works for me, okay? Sometimes our family are the least receptive to our insight, our knowledge, our wisdom. You know, as a son, sometimes I'm least receptive to my father and mother's advice. And yet many other people take my mother's and father's advice, okay?
True.
But because we have those relationships, we have history. Now, what we can do for our family, and one of the things that I have done during this time of isolation, quarantine, I've taken on the austerity, the inner discipline, the heart austerity of not raising my voice. In other words, not projecting any form of frustration or anger upon others. Now, this is a vow. And to take a vow means to take a powerful decision that you stand behind as a way to grow an aspect of yourself. It's an austerity. So the way to approach this, one way to approach this, is imagine what is the fast you could take right now. There's physical fast. You can fast from food. You can say, I'm going to take a fast from sugars over the next week. I'm going to take a fast from salt. I can take a fast from kissing. I can take a fast from touching. Many of us are having a fast from touching. We're not able to touch and hug as many people and connect in that physical way as much as we'd like to. This causes all types of stuff arising in ourselves that we can go on about, right?
Yes.
So what can we do? When we choose to fast, if I choose to take a salt and sugar fast, at first I'll have cravings for that, but if I stay in the austerity with it, the sadhana, the spiritual growth of it, all the cravings will come up. Oh, I'll just have this. I'll take a little sneak over here. I'll do that. But it's the power of the vow that you cultivate, your word to yourself, not to anyone else. Your word to yourself is what gets to grow right now. And the vow I took is to refrain from raising my voice in anger or subjecting my family to frustration, my frustrations. This is a lot harder to do than to say about it, of course. That's the power of a vow. You don't take a vow on because it's easy or even mediocre. You take it on because it's challenging. Now, when you go through this period of a vow, in this case for me, to stay centered, loving, tender in my voice, with my wife, with my son, with my colleague living in our same quarters, what happens is all those senses become heightened. If you fast from sugar and salt, all those senses will be heightened. If you fast from touch, all your senses in those areas, which you've been using unconsciously all the time, they get to reawaken, they get to re-energize, they get to wake up from the constant onslaught of touch, attention, and sensory input. All those flavors will become awakened. This COVID crisis is settled down and we're able to reconnect. Our desire for touch will be even more subtle, genuine. We'll be able to, because we've fasted, the delicacy and the specialness and the sacredness of our interactions will bloom if we allow it. Our touch will be more conscious and feeling and attentive. Our voice, our tenderness will penetrate deeper because we've subjugated our ego and lifting others up through our surrender of our egoic disposition and our stance and who we think we should be. So I believe the way we can lead at home is deepening our tenderness, allow ourselves to be the carpet that everyone can, a plush, cozy, safe carpet. Make your spirit, your home, your disposition like a sultan's tent where everyone can come back and they can just be like this inside your being. This is what I've been cultivating. Find your own way of a decision that activates the power of the vow, the sacred vow, small, big, large, whatever it is, and then stick to it. But start with the home. It doesn't matter what you say to your family right now, very little. It's the cushion, it's the solve, it's the space that they get to rest in that's most important. It's the power of your silent holding and tender disposition. Okay, my friends, I really appreciate you all coming on today. And I'm going to be doing more of these Facebook Lives combined with the Zoom. We're going to have hangouts. I'm going to invite you once in a while into my library, pulling books off the library and such. And I'm going to invite other guests that I'd love to have on and share and just jam like this in an informal way rather than come up with big topics and such. And I just want to get to know as many of you as I can through heart and touch. And I want my hope and my desire, my joy in my heart is to see you all get to know each other just a little bit more, because getting to know each other a little bit more, a lot more, is the way of this initiatory fire right now. It's an opportunity, I feel, for deepening the contact we have with our fellow human family. And it's an opportunity to dive into and master the austerities that we need to do to become the highest conduit of spirit force that is being called through us right now. All my love and blessings. Thanks for coming on live. And all of you, much love and embrace. Let's give us and give each other a love and embrace. Yeah. And we'll see you soon. To the great one.